Ready to go. You turn your microphone.
Everyone want to do a mic check?
Test.
Test. Test. You guys are all good? Yep. All right. Good evening. I would like to call this regular meeting of the City Plan Commission to order. It's our first meeting in 2024. Today's Tuesday, January 16th. It is 4:49 p.m. and we will call this meeting to order. Let's start with a roll call. We'll go around from Lowell.
Lowell Sanchez.
Will Sherry.
Dave Caldwell.
Charlotte Lipschitz.
Shayan Mandrakar, DPD staff.
Bob Azar, staff.
Megan DeSanto, council.
And Michael Gazdaco. No. Oh, okay, yeah, perfect. We have approval of the minutes of the December 12th, 2023 meeting as our next order of business. We hope you all have gotten them in advance, had a chance to review them. If no changes or edits, we look for a motion to approve as drafted.
I'll make a motion to approve.
We need a second.
Second.
All right, let's all do a voice vote. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. All opposed? Any abstentions? The minutes carry. All right, so next up is election of officers.
Okay, Mr. Chair, so this is our annual election of officers. We have asked, and the existing three officers have indicated that they would like to continue to serve. That would be Michael Gazdaco as chair, Nicole Verdi as vice chair, and Noel Sanchez. So you can entertain nominations for that slate or for anybody else.
I think we'd like to move forward and nominate Michael Gazdaco for the chair, Nicole Verdi for the vice chair, and Noel Sanchez for the secretary position.
All right, so we have a motion. Do we have a second?
Second.
All right, we have a second. We'll go around and, well, actually, we could do a voice vote for this.
Yep.
All in favor, say aye. Aye. All opposed, say nay. Any abstentions? All right, the slate carries.
Okay, next is the administrative officers. Under the brand new land development and subdivision review regulations, we have the ability to have several different administrative officers who will carry out these regulations, both for projects that come in front of the board and those that get approved administratively. And new this year, with the changes in the state law and the subsequent changes in our regulations, we also have administrative officers for what's called the Technical Review Committee, also known as the Downtown Design Review Committee. So our recommendation is for you to choose myself, Choyan Mandrakar, and Lev Simon as administrative officers for the City Plan Commission. And then for the Downtown Design Review Committee, Christopher Issei, who is a staff member of the Department of Planning and Development. And because of a little quirk in the state law, the chair is also the chair of the technical review committee also has to be an administrative officer, and that person currently is Chris Marcella.
So if we would want to move that forward, someone could just say so moved.
So moved.
All right, do we have a second?
Second.
All right, again, we'll just do a voice vote. All in favor, say aye. Aye. All opposed, say nay. Any abstentions? All right, that slate carries.
Great.
Wonderful. Next up, we are on to director's report.
Okay, just a little bit to report. First of all, we're excited that we have a brand new zoning ordinance, brand new land development and subdivision regulations. And we're looking forward to seeing how well these work and to sort of track things that aren't really working. I understand that there is some activity at the State House with respect to fixing some of the problems with the way the laws were written. There were some inconsistencies, some improper references and so forth. So we understand that there are some changes being proposed there. I don't think it's going to really affect us too much. Also at the legislature, there's some discussion about new legislation with respect to accessory dwelling units. So we're looking forward to seeing that. There is a draft. We had some minor comments on it, but we'll see where that goes. And then with respect to the comprehensive plan, we are in the process of drafting right now. We've got several chapters that have been drafted, others that are in progress. What we'd like to do, I think next month, is come to you with what we're calling our growth strategy, which is a sort of big picture, probably 2-3 maps that describe in very general terms how we're looking to grow, how we think we're going to grow, and where we want to be directing growth. Currently in the comprehensive plan, we have a map called Areas of Stability and Change. This will be like that, but we think it's going to be enhanced. We think it's probably going to be 2 or 3 maps, maybe one that talks specifically about residential growth, one that talks about business and economic development, and another one that talks about conservation and resiliency. And then we're looking forward. I know it's ambitious, and I don't want you to hold me to it, but it's possible that we'll have a draft of the text in March. But stay tuned for that.
Wonderful. All very important and exciting things to discuss. With that, we will roll right into the agenda. We are going to take the first item out of order. We're going to take number 2 on your agenda first. It's a minor subdivision unified development review public hearing, case number 23-054 UDR 53 Pomona Avenue.
Okay, Mr. Chair, we have John Garrahy on Zoom. John, can you hear us?
I'm here. Can you hear me?
Yes. Okay. My understanding is that you're requesting a continuance on this.
We are. A brief explanation for it, Bob, that would be helpful to me. As you remember, this tree line is at least acting city forester.
John, I'm sorry, John, you're cutting in and out. If you can hear me, John, you're cutting in and out. We're only getting like every third word. Okay, here's what John, I'm gonna try and describe this, and perhaps if you agree with me, you can just indicate as such. So if some of you who were here to review this project, remember this is a subdivision of 1 lot into 2 lots. There was a large tree on the vacant portion of the land. It was considered a significant tree, which means it's more than 32 inches in diameter. It's protected, and the city forester would have to give approval for removal of that tree. The city forester at the time denied removal of the tree. And then he left that position shortly thereafter. He didn't really include any findings in his letter. And so the applicant has actually appealed that decision to the zoning board. It's due to be heard in February. It looks like we're probably gonna have a new city forester within the next few days here. And I think Mr. Garrett, he's gonna ask that person to reconsider or at least make findings that the other forester didn't make. So there's two options here. One is that the new forester, makes findings and then things can advance forward. Two, the other alternative is that this goes to the zoning board and then the zoning board acts. In any event, the applicant is asking for to come back at the March meeting, which is March 19th. Is that correct, John?
That's correct. Can you hear me any better now?
Yes, we can hear you.
Bob, I think you gave an accurate description of where we are. I think that's right. The February zoning meeting is after the City Plan Commission in February. That's why we're asking it to go out to March. Hopefully we can resolve it as well. I've also hired a landscape architect to take a look at this and to provide expert testimony with respect to it. So we put some effort behind it. So, but I think you've got it exactly right. So the long and short of it is we're asking for a continuance to March 19th.
And with the applicant asking for the continuance, the time clock is stopped. So at this time, it looks like we're looking for a motion to continue this matter to date sensitive March 19th, 2024.
So moved.
Wonderful. Do we have a second?
Second.
All right, we'll go around and do a vote. Noel?
Aye.
Will?
Aye.
Dave?
Aye.
Charlotte?
Aye.
Miguel? And I vote aye. All right, so your matter is continued, Attorney Garrett. Thank you very much. Now, with that, we will go back to the first agenda item on our agenda, which is a minor subdivision with Unified Development Review. It's a public hearing. It's case number 23-056 UDR. It's for 2 Ware Court.
Thanks, Mr. Chair. A quick introduction before the applicant gets here. So this is a request for a minor subdivision with Unified Development Review. So this is a lot that measures approximately 6,200 square feet, and it's occupied by 3 buildings. And the applicant is requesting to subdivide the lot into 2 lots of 2,170 square feet and approximately 4,032 square feet. This will result in 1 lot with 2 buildings on it and 1 lot with 1 building on it. This is all a pre-existing condition. And in doing so, the applicant is requesting relief from the maximum impervious surface coverage requirements for front yard, rear yard, and total maximum impervious surface coverage, in addition to relief for more than 1 principal building on a lot. They're also requesting relief from the minimum lot size and lot width requirements. So the applicant's here and they can walk us through it.
Oh,
Microphone's not on. Hang on 1 second.
you gotta press and hold.
Hello. Thank you, Troyan. Good evening, members of the board. I have the applicant next to me today. You can introduce yourself.
Kenny Trent, owner of 2 Ware Court.
And my name is Julissa Arce on behalf of the applicant. And so essentially, it's everything that Troyan just introduced, so thank you, Troyan. The project seems to have a substantial amount of relief requested, and that is on purpose. As you can see, the subject lot has three principal structures on it, on this one lot. And this predates back to the plat map of 1937. And so this has been a prior non-conforming lot for a very long time, as you can see. And essentially, at that time, the lots at some point were merged. And so the client is essentially trying to go back to its origins and in the most conforming way possible. And as you can see, in the previous times, we're trying to subdivide the property in a way that creates, that conforms the most to the current zoning code, without having to demolish the existing structures. And so we are attempting to create the property so that we can have more average homeowners in the neighborhood. Currently, the lot is the only lot on the street not owned, that's not owner occupied. It is owned because of the size of the lot with the three dwellings. There's no possible way for an average homeowner to buy the lot and be able to conform to the neighborhood. So the only way to move forward with this would be to have these big investors purchase the property. And so the proposed subdivision, it complies to the comprehensive plan by allowing there to be more opportunities for building design in this zone, in the R4 zone, and also to promote and protecting the built environment. Additionally, with all of the procedures and requirements of the zoning code, the applicant has been meeting, and it meets all of the requirements for all of the dimensional variances requested. This is the least amount of relief necessary. As you can see, in any possible way to cure this defect on the lot, there will need to be some form of relief. And we have worked tremendously with the planning department and the zoning department to create such a subdivision so that it complies in the most capable way. And lastly, as you can see, the property, and you can't see on the survey, but if you were to have like an aerial view, one of the unique characteristics of the lot is that it has a substantial amount of impervious surface coverage, and that is due to a direct result of the three principal structures, so that there can be that vehicular access to the properties as noted in the DBT recommendation. And so lastly, before I turn it back to you guys, I do want to highlight that the applicant is meeting the canopy requirement, and in fact, they're providing more square footage than the minimum requirement, and that helps sort of compensate for the amount of impervious surface coverage. And the applicant also will be providing 20 feet of grass area to help minimize that impervious surface coverage right there on, I would say, lot B. So the lot closest to like the right lot in the rear right quarter as well, to go ahead and meet that recommendation in the staff report. Alrighty, so I'll go ahead and turn it to the applicant if the board has any questions.
I may have missed this, but how did this come about?
Oh, sorry, Kenneth Trank, TRINQ.
I mean, I assume that it's, sorry, go ahead. I assume it's either you're trying to sell one of these parcels or you're trying to pull permits on something that the building official won't give permits for because it's not conforming, or?
Well, as the attorney pointed out, in 1937, there were two houses on this lot. And probably a prime example of why committees like this are necessary and why inspections and standards was created is because that back house on the next census was built. And we went back into the records from two various sources and showed that there was no permits, there was nothing, it just appeared. So what I'm trying to do is, those are three individual properties, with their own setups. And I'm trying to take the two houses on the existing house, 8 and 6, and create a two-family from those two. And then on the left would be a single family. The impervious space that is where it states Lot A will be eliminated. And that will be all grass. Where it says 12.5 feet, that is also grass now. So, and in that far right-hand corner and in the back, we will also be digging out tar and putting grass in.
So I think you confused me a little bit more than I was going into this. Are you demolishing houses 6 and 8 and creating a two-family?
I can speak to that to clarify. So the 3 existing structures on the property are each one family lots, one family
They're
dwellings.
single-family
Yes, correct.
units, or
And-
houses, whatever.
Yep, and so with the subdivision, the 2 single families will be deemed a two-family. And that is the way we are able to make that work in terms of a use. And that is also why we are requesting the design waiver for having 2 principal buildings on one lot. And the way to document the use of the lot would be a two-family use.
I actually don't think that's.
No.
No?
That's not the way. No, it would be. You're gonna keep, existing house 6 and existing house 8. Are they single-family houses today?
They are each set up as single-family houses, correct?
And they're gonna continue to be single-family
Correct.
houses?
All these structures will remain.
Okay, I think this is still. I don't know that zoning will consider this a two-family house. I think they're still gonna call it 2 non-conforming single-family houses. But that's, I mean,
If we're going to-
that's okay. It's sort of just zoning semantics. You need zoning relief to have, you already have an existing condition where you have more than one building on a lot. You're actually making it better by having less than 3. So, but these are all, I guess the question the chair asked is, why are you doing this? What are you gonna do with the existing house 2? And what are you gonna do with, are you gonna keep all these? Are you gonna sell?
Yeah, what's,
You're
what
gonna
was
sell
the
one?
impetus of this?
Like, what's the purpose of it?
Sure. I'm selling, these are the last properties I own as a landlord. And, I bought them about 15 years ago, and, they were destroyed. The street was a nightmare. It was on the front page of the Providence Journal. And so therefore, my goal was to improve these properties, and now at this point, I am selling, yes.
Oh, so you're trying to sell this lot B as one lot and lot A as a separate lot, and to be able to legally
Correct,
sell them separately. That's your goal.
yes.
But you're not demolishing or redeveloping these houses.
No,
Okay. The whole two-family confused me a little bit, but,
understood.
all right, other members.
Can I ask a question, about the impervious surface? So from what you've said so far, it sounds like the existing condition is that there's more impervious surface than is allowed. And you are not adding any, you are only subtracting impervious surface. Is that right? Okay.
Are there any requirements for parking? And it doesn't look like they fit.
Yeah, this is R3 zone, correct?
Yeah, so it's 1 per dwelling unit. So the applicant will need one space for each unit.
Will it fit there?
And where's that been?
On the 13 foot, then back up to where it gets tighter. Doesn't have to be 12 foot.
How many spaces do you have today and how many will you have when this subdivision is done? And where, and how will the parking be configured on the site?
Speak to that. Well, with the non-conforming uses of this lot, we will be grandfathered in the parking deficiency.
But how many, are there any parking spaces on this property today?
Yes,
How many?
right now, there would be approximately 6 parking spaces.
Okay, so if you have 6 parking spaces, you only need 3, so you don't, there's no grandfathering. You have double the requirement.
So I guess what I would ask is, you're going to have 2 single-family houses, each which require 1 parking space on lot B. You have 2 spaces on lot B after this subdivision is approved, if it is improved?
Correct.
Okay, and then on existing house 2, you'll be able to have provisions for 1 parking space.
Correct.
Okay. Then you'll meet your parking requirements.
Correct.
Wonderful.
And would existing house 2, would that now be an R3 zone? Would that now be able to have 3 units if someone purchased that? And could there potentially be 9 units on that property at this point? 3 in each of the buildings?
So I can answer that question. Existing house 2 could have 3 units. I'm sorry, let's stick with lot. Lot A could have 3 units. Lot B could have 3 units. So there could be, they could add 1 extra unit. However, they would have to have enough parking. Be honest with you, I think that we really need a little bit more information about how parking is gonna be handled here, and maybe if you approve this, you can subject this to a staff review. I'm seeing 2 curb cuts here. One on the left side of lot A. There's an indication of 13.3 feet from the lot line to the house, but there's also kind of a staircase in the way. I don't know how wide that staircase is. I don't know how wide that parking space is. It could be, it could be 8.5 feet, which is the requirement. The other one, it looks like you could get 2 tandem spaces in that 13 feet between the lot line and the house. That looks fine. I'm looking at Google Maps. It appears as if there's room enough for 2 cars to fit there. But when he talks about 6 spaces, I don't know where those cars are parking, and frankly, I guess to the left of that porch on lot A, it looks like there's enough room for a space. Google Maps shows these properties to be under construction. There's also kind of public right of way in front of that on the lower side of existing house 2. This is all paved. It's unclear on the ground where the public right of way starts and stops. It looks like people park here, which is not really legal for parking. So I'm gonna just suggest that any approval of this subdivision is gonna be subject to them submitting to staff a parking plan that shows how 3 cars are gonna be parked. And while they're at it, I think we do wanna see where exactly the introduction of new pervious surface is going to be. Because the way this site is, it's a little willy-nilly. It looks like you could probably get vehicles sort of into the interior and just have parking everywhere. And if the goal is to introduce new pervious surface, we want to make sure that people don't just start parking on it and then we're back to where we were. So I think a site plan that shows parking and areas of pervious surface, I think we should add that to the conditions of this. Should we get to that point?
A question about the relief that is being requested for more than one principal structure. Now that's going to go with the lot, or is that going to go with these two structures? I'm thinking he's teeing up to sell these properties if someone decides.
That goes, so that goes with lot B, but it goes with the existing condition.
Okay,
And you can be clear about that. That doesn't mean that they get to knock down a house and build another one.
yeah, build two separate principal structures, right?
Right, so relief runs with the land. And the thing is that if they suffer a hardship here because of unique conditions, it's because of the existing buildings that are on the site. It's not carte blanche to have two buildings in any configuration of any vintage on this site forevermore. So you can be clear in your approval that this is for the existing buildings in their current state.
Just to clarify on that, then if these buildings were to be demolished on lot B, you would be allowed to build one building that has 3 units.
Correct.
Yes. Because the zoning isn't changing, it's still going to be an R3 zone.
And in fact, I might want to backtrack actually on that. Well,
Would it be all the relief that we're granting today goes with the existing lots as existing structures?
so this actually is an interesting kind of hypothetical. I think I'm gonna backtrack on this idea of being able to add units. And the reason is that this will be if you approve this, this will be a condition that exists by virtue of a variance. It's not a non-conformity. It's non-conforming lots that get that benefit under the new law where you can add units. If this is a condition that exists by dimensional variance, it's for what exists today. So in my opinion, they would not be able to add units to either one of these lots. They would be, this variance is to allow for this new lot configuration, but to allow for the existing buildings in their existing locations on these lots.
So all of the relief that is being requested, if we approve it, will go with the existing buildings in their current status.
Yes.
And only that. If they
Yeah.
decide to demolish one structure and build a 3-family, they'd have to come back for other relief.
I think so. It's honestly, this is kind of confusing. I don't even know that they can get further. I don't know. That's a hypothetical that maybe to deal with at this point. I don't think the law contemplate what the law says today is that if you have legal non-conforming undersized lots, you're allowed to have the number of units that the zone allows. But if those lots were created by a dimensional variance, I don't think that counts.
So
Those are lots by dimensional variance. They're not lots that are legal non-conforming. There's a distinction between those two categories in the law.
Right, but we're creating new undersized lots, so then
Yes.
they will be undersized. The relief,
But they won't be legal non-conforming. they'll be non-conforming by virtue of a variance.
Right, right.
Yeah. This is a new world we're in. And we're
It's
gonna
only
have to,
January.
we're gonna have to kind of think about these
It's the
things.
first application we're hearing
Yeah.
in the new regulation, so this is fun, we're uncharted
I
territory
think
here.
this is something we do sort of often, which maybe correct me if I am getting this wrong, but like we've approved a lot of lots, for instance, that don't have the frontage on the street.
Yes,
And that's this same situation.
same situation. Those are, yeah. Now, in those cases, there's still, in some of those cases, those are vacant lots, or I think in, maybe some of them, there's an existing building on one of the lots and the other lot is vacant.
But if the vacant lot is in an R3 zone, are they then not allowed to build a 3-family on that vacant
Right.
lot?
That's a really good question.
Well, because
Honestly, I think we're gonna have to do a little research about this.
Yeah.
But what I will say is that when there are zoning variances are always specific to what is brought in front of you. And when you approve the variance, it's for the plans that are in front of you. And the plans that are in front of you are that there are gonna be two lots. One is gonna have an existing single-family house on it. The other is gonna have two single-family houses on it. That's what you're approving. I feel pretty strongly that that's the case. That's how the zoning board works. Going back in time, the relief is for what is in the plans that are submitted.
And so presumably that would mean that anyone trying to build something different in the future would have to come back before
Yes,
the zone, either
Yes.
zoning or us, I
yeah,
guess.
they'd have to come back for different zoning relief, depending on what they want to do.
any other questions of the applicants?
So I'm having a hard time to see how the parking is gonna work between the two houses with that division.
I agree completely, which is why
My question is really, when they do divide and sell, would we require the impervious surface of the setback on house number 2, the 5 feet, to be removed and a fence to be put up? Or otherwise, it's gonna create a lot of conflict between the owners, I think. Who gets to use?
You're talking about this little space right here.
yeah.
Well, and more in so much that the parking on the right for house number 8. And where I guess house number 6 is gonna park as well. They're pretty tight if there's a fence in there. It works right now because it's open.
I do think we need to see a parking plan, impervious plan that meets what the narrative states it's going to be. And the parking plan needs to be dimensioned for each lot.
So my question is, can we require a fence or not? In that division that's tight? No,
You could, but, I don't know. I mean, one possibility is that the pavement remains in here, and that there's some kind of easement agreement that says that there can be parking here. On the other hand, if between this red line and this house is of an adequate width, I don't know. It's gonna be hard, it's hard to tell how, it says 13 plus 5, that means 18 feet. This is that space right there. Is that 18 feet? That's
Why is it back there?
that car is, 5 6 feet wide. Well, I don't know if that's 18 feet. Is this, I
You
mean,
take away 5 feet back there,
yeah, and it's tight.
5 feet is the minimum setback on the side, right?
In this, well, it's whatever you decide it is. It's supposed to be 6 feet, in a residential zone. But I think they're asking for that relief, aren't they?
Yes.
Here's the other space here.
Yeah, lot width requirements, but it doesn't look like any side back relief was requested.
There's.
Yeah, there's,
Access to the house on the left.
minimum lot width, impervious surface, minimum lot size, and 2 principal buildings. It doesn't look like there's any setback relief requested.
Diane, can you check the application, please? So I will say this, that,
You're looking at 4 feet over here too.
well, that's existing.
But we're creating this new line here. At
Yeah.
5 feet.
4,000. There is the new law that's, that says that your setbacks shrink, in proportion to your lot size. So I think they luck out under the new law.
When was this submitted or?
Well, it
Certified
submitted,
complete.
it was submitted before.
2023.
I don't know.
Do you want to pull it and resubmit it? We're hearing it. Yeah.
I think we can apply the new law here.
Yes.
There, it wasn't side yard setback, it wasn't,
Yeah, I think we can apply the new law here.
We probably will need to see a calculation of that also.
Yeah. I
So
mean,
I think we just need more information on the plan. I think we need to see what your side yard, rear, it's just side yard, I think. Side yard setbacks for both lot B and lot A. We need to see pervious versus impervious coverage, what is anticipated here, where the parking is going to be, walking paths, et cetera, where your canopy coverage is going to be, and dimensioned parking spaces for A and B as well, along with whatever Noel is gonna bring up.
I'm thinking about, I don't know, if DPW is looking at this, we got private sewer line.
I saw that. I was gonna ask something about it, but
Don't know how the back house is gonna put sewer out or where it goes, and is it a shared lawn?
Yeah, is there-
The house?
is there only one sewer exiting this entire parcel right now?
there is one sewer,
So all 3 houses are connected to one.
no. No, let me get back on that, I wanna be as accurate as possible, the water is separate. So the sewer should be, but I wanna make sure I'm accurate.
Okay. Yeah. Any other questions for the applicant?
So the site utilities, are those, before a sale would happen, are those arranged? Like, are those distributed properly?
well,
Water and sewer, I guess, mainly because gas is.
I think that's gonna have to be something that they work out between the seller and the buyers. It's not really something that's pertinent to this review. You're not required to say anything about utilities, but I think it's a good question. Certainly something any buyer would want to understand.
Mr. Chairman, may I interject? So just so that I, am clear and I understand, would this approval, be subject to all of the requested, conditions be reviewed administratively?
I think at this point, there's too many issues. I think this is this application, there's too many outstanding items that I think we probably want you to continue it, or we would continue it and have you come back when you have all the information needed for us to substantially review this.
Mhm.
There are certain findings we have to make that I just don't feel comfortable making for a zoning matter without all of the information.
All right, so the applicant asks if we may continue this matter to, the next meeting.
All right, so
Well,
then
the next feasible date to obtain this
we have to,
information.
we'll have to do a date specific, so it'll be to February 20th is the meeting?
Yeah, February 20th.
Okay. We could continue it to either February 20th or March 19th. If you think everything's gonna be in order on the 20th, we can continue it to then. We can also, you can show up again on the 20th if it's not ready and continue it to the next month.
May I consult with my client? Essentially, yeah. 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 We asked for the February meeting date.
Okay, so this is a February 20th, 2024 meeting date that you're asking for a continuance to, at which time you'll present a revised plan, showing all of the items requested, and we ask that you put on a presentation as well with testimony, related to the zoning variant. This is we have two separate hearings that we're going to have here. We're gonna have the zoning and the planning board, and the zoning matter needs to have testimony on the record presented in order for us to make, you have to prove the findings that we need to make. We need to confirm that those were made, and then we can grant approval. Without that, we can't. So you can't make that presentation. You're the attorney, so you need to have someone else doing that for you. So we'll entertain a motion to continue this to the February 20th, 2024 meeting.
Make a motion, we continue to the February meeting.
I'll second.
All right, all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Any abstentions? All right, we'll see you then. Thank you.
Thank you.
All right, we already hit number 2, so we're gonna go right into city council referral, agenda item number 3. It's referral number 3565, 181, 187, and 191 Pocasset Avenue and 11 Lowell Ave.
And thanks, Mr. Chair. This is a request to rezone the subject lot from R3 to C2. These are 4 lots that are located on Pocasset Ave and Lowell Ave. And they are used for a number of, one is occupied by a mixed-use building that also contains a restaurant, and the other contains an auto detailing business, as well as 2 lots that are now considered principal use parking lots. So the applicant is requesting the change in order to legalize these uses, and they can tell us more about the petition.
Good evening, Mr. Chairman, members of the board, Richard Pasha for the applicant. I'm here with my co-counsel, my son, Rick Pasha. New attorney in the office, my emotional support attorney this evening. And,
We all need one of those.
so, just by way of background, all 4 of these lots at one time were owned for an extensive period of time by the Young Panese Social Club. And in January of 2019, the social club sold lots 23 and 24, which are references 191 and 187 Pocasset Avenue, respectively, to JAVC LLC. And on that property, Juliana's Restaurant is presently operating. The structure of Juliana's is at 187 Pocasset Avenue, which is tax assessors lot 24, and lot 191 is the parking lot there. Juliana's previously had been located near the corner of Glenbridge Avenue and Hartford Avenue, and it was growing and basically opened that location, and it's continuing to grow. It's a very successful, thriving restaurant. I recommend you to dine there. The food is excellent, and consequently, as an outgrowth of its own growth, it then approached the Young Panese Social Club, and on February 1 of 2023, JAVC purchased 22 Lowell and 181 Pocasset, 11 Lowell, which is plat lot 22, and 181 Pocasset, which is lot 32. At the time of the acquisition, it was at the time of the zoning, it was learned that those two lots were not within a C2 zone. So the request here with respect to 181, 187, and 191, and also 11 is to get C2 zoning status. I understand that Pocasset Avenue, directly across the street from the three lots that are out front Pocasset Avenue, is a C2 zone. This is a highly commercial zone, and it's the uses of 181, 187, and 191 are consistent with that type of commercial use. I would request, obviously, that those three be changed to C2. The lot at 181 Pocasset, again, assesses lot 32, has for the last 40 or 50 years been basically a lot that has been unimproved. There's no structure on it. I believe it's zoned as R3, but the reality is that for the last 40 or 50 years, it's been used for parking. It's asphalted. The Young Panese Social Club has used that lot for accessory parking for its business. And certainly Juliana's well can use it for parking because it's a commercial property that's growing and it needs parking. So that 181 Pocasset Avenue, again, we're requesting to be in a C2 zone, as is 187 and 191. The issue with respect to 11 Lowell is a little bit different. I understand that that's an R3 zone. And my understanding further, and the board can correct me if I'm wrong, is that there was a variance to allow that building to be used for storage. And if you look at the actual structure of that building, it footprints the entire parcel of land. There's really no impervious space, or certainly no parking outside the perimeter of the building, which footprints the entire lot. Further, the property, if you go in it, it's not consistent with residential use at all. It's a concrete structure. The ceilings are, and I've been in it, I would suggest that the ceilings are probably about 12, 14 feet high. There you go, you can see it. There's a driver's door in the front. There is some parking in the front, but the entire footprint of the building, there's no signage on either side, no setback. And it's not anything that could even be converted into residential structure. So it really fits in nicely with the in terms of a homogeneous layout with Juliana's to have that building C2. I mean, again, the comprehensive plan, I understand it's an R3 zone, but given the historical uses of the property, the variance, the construction, it simply is unimaginable that it could be used as a residential structure. I heard the board indicated today about the changes in the zoning in law, and I was reading just last night, in the most recent issue of the Bar Journal, an article talking about seismic changes to Rhode Island's land use law. And, it has an article about the changes in the comprehensive plan dealing with zoning and low and moderate income housing. You can't make a house out of that. And I think, to suggest that the comprehensive plan creates this ironclad standard, it's not consistent with the use here. We are better off, the city is better off, and the applicant's better off having 11 Lowell Avenue, bonded together in a C2 commercial use, because that property is not residential use by any stretch of the imagination. It's just more consistent with the commercial uses of the existing building. The plan of Juliana's restaurant and JAVC, the owner, as they're growing here, is to ultimately incorporate that building as a catering facility. So they need the parking at 181 on the other side of the existing building. They need this building to incorporate as catering. Now, I will tell you this, and I'll be frank and candid. They want this as a C2 building. They spent a lot of money, hundreds of thousands of dollars, improving the building that they bought in 187, 191 over the last 2 or 3 years. And they're expected to upgrade the 11 Lowell Avenue building so that they can make that a catering facility to entertain banquets, small weddings, graduations and the like. They're not gonna do that immediately because they've taken on a big bite just to expand the existing business. Of course, they did it right through the COVID. So it's a measure of the hard work and success of the owner occupants here. The son, Ariel Melger, is the sole member of JAVC. His mother runs the restaurant and he works there. So it's like a corporation, JAVC, that controls a related entity, the restaurant. And their plan is to, at the right point in time, I don't know, I can't state with any certainty exactly when that will be, and we're hoping the sooner the better, but they need to know going forward that this property can be C2 so they can grow consistent with the growth that's taking place there, so they can have this banquet facility. They would like, time being, there's the operation there is a car detailing place, and I want to dispel any aspersions about it as being a so-called car wash. It's not a situation where there's brushes and cars are coming in at one end and go to the other end. What happens is people go in there and they have their cars washed, cleaned, the mats are vacuumed. That's no mechanical work taking place. There's no engine or automotive work taking place. It's just a bunch of hoses washing down cars and vacuums, cleaning out the interior of the cars there. So that has been a use. Admittedly, it's not storage, but it's not anything that's beyond a high intensity commercial use that's caused disturbance to the neighborhood. We've never had any, as far as I know, complaints. I don't know of any neighbors that have registered any opposition to the application. So I really think that looking forward in the grand scheme of things, that it just makes sense to have all of this C2, so that this entity can operate as it's intended and as it's existing. We certainly, if the planning board or the city council feels that it should all be merged into one lot, it's obviously 4 separate lots now, but we have no problem if you want to put it into one lot. Or make the front 3 one lot. I know I had sent a letter to the planning board earlier and to the zoning official describing this. And that may be in your package. But, that's in a nutshell, we're able to, I'm here to answer any questions. The applicant's not here, but, I believe I can address any of his concerns, because I've been working with them over the last 4 years on the closings of both properties and the like.
Okay. I think you had a few things before we get to questions.
Yeah, just a couple of issues here. So, just to clarify, this zone that's across the street and actually across Lowell Avenue is actually C1. But we, in talking with Attorney Pasha, we thought that C2 would be a better zone for this because C1 allows for restaurants of under 3,500 square feet. I believe this is already bigger than 3,500 square feet, and there's some talk about expanding and so forth. So I think C2 is a better zone. As it turns out, as Choyan will explain, the comprehensive plan designation along this area is for what's called neighborhood commercial and mixed use, which would allow for either C1 or C2. So that's why we think C2 is a better zone than C1. It's not, what it'll do is it'll make, you know, a commercial, it'll make a commercial use allowable, but it won't legalize an existing restaurant of over 3,500 square feet. With respect to this garage back here, I believe that there's a violation here. This is am I right?
No, that is correct.
Yeah,
There is
so there's a violation. They were cited for a car wash. We don't recognize any, if you're washing cars, we call that a car wash. It doesn't have to be an automated thing. You know, it's detailing. It's a car wash. Car wash is not allowed in C2. You'd have to get to C3 to do that. That would be inconsistent with the comprehensive plan. So they need to make some decisions about this building. I think because it is a commercial type structure, I think it's appropriate for it to be zone C2, but just to be clear, C2 is not going to legalize what's today an illegal condition. And by the way, this parking in front here is not parking in front of the building. That's parking on the sidewalk. That's illegal too. Putting a dumpster on the sidewalk, that's illegal too. So this has got to be fixed. And the zoning change is not fixing, it's not gonna, any zoning change is not gonna make this condition legal. So just want to be clear there. Again, we think it's appropriate to rezone it, to be used maybe in conjunction with the restaurant, or, you know, some other legal commercial use, but a car wash can't be here.
I understand that, and I think, the position of the applicant would be, to, if it had to, you know, cross the Rubicon, so to speak, and come to a decision as to what it would do, it would want the C2 status, and it of course would lose the car wash. I don't think, and I would agree with your comments, Mr. Azar, that, it's a stretch to try to make a car wash there, in this type of neighborhood where, we're gonna be lucky to get C1 or C2. To get something beyond that, that would allow a car wash as a stretch, and I think the applicant, you know, understands that. He doesn't need a reality check. So we'd be looking for the C2 status there as well.
No, in looking
Car
at,
wash, so be it.
well, I mean, I think that's been stated. The car wash has to go no matter
Oh,
what.
yeah, that's,
In
we,
fact, you should probably go sooner rather than later if you've been cited.
well, we have a zoning application. I will state this to the board. There is a case pending, before the municipal Providence Housing Court dealing with this violation notice. And the board there, the council and the judge have been, lenient enough to hold off on the prosecution pending, you know, some input on what this board, is going to do and what it's suggesting. So I'm gonna report back to the board, to the court. You know, the way the wind is blowing here, that we should do something sooner rather than later with regard to that violation, of that.
So the C2, it looks like, if I'm reading this correctly, C1, restaurant more than 3,500 square feet is allowed in C1 and C2. It's the reception that reception facility is allowed in C2. Is that why you're asking for
I'm
C2
sorry.
instead of C1?
Well, I think like, as Mr. Azar said, the C two was a neighborhood commercial. It makes,
But that's permitted in both C1 and C2 in our new zoning tables. So it's not,
Wait a minute.
so
You
I'm
know, when
looking
they,
at this
when
and
they filed for this, that wasn't the case.
so now.
There's
now
another
C1
little, yeah, good call. Good catch.
what's the wrinkle here?
Well, previously, when you filed this application, a restaurant for more than 3,500 square feet was only allowed in C2. Now, in the new zoning tables, it's allowed in C1. So
Is that effective as of January 1?
January 1.
Okay.
So as of today, C1 is, it will, based on what you've testified to, C1 will satisfy you. The only wrinkle that I see in it is that a reception facility, if in fact you're using that as a hall,
I say what?
as a, like, a banquet
Oh,
facility,
yes, okay.
I assume that would be reception facility. And that is only allowed
Yes.
in C2.
That's right. That's right.
So that's, okay, and I thank you for clarifying that. I know as of the first, this application was filed before the first of
Right.
the year, but we're seeking review on it after the first of the year. Jurisdictionally or from whatever perspective you're looking at it, as of January 1, we'd be looking for C2 so we could incorporate the hall, banquet hall use. If it's not allowed in C1, that doesn't get us where we want to be.
Is that what you would classify it as reception? And
Yeah,
that's what I would
reception,
assume.
yeah, banquet hall would be a reception facility.
Facility, yeah,
Yeah.
okay. So you're still looking for the C2.
So I don't think I need to amend my
Yeah,
application.
and honestly, no, you don't. I think C2 is fine
Yeah,
here,
okay.
personally.
I was just looking at it, and getting a little
Frankly,
confused.
we may, with the comprehensive plan, we may have a discussion with you about C1 and C2 and what really is the difference. But that's for a later date.
Okay. Commissioners,
So is that building on Lowell Avenue, was it built without permits? Was it built non-conform? How did it get to be?
Oh. There is a legal use associated with it, as storage. I mean, it looks to me like it was a garage of some sort, but it's really hard to say. You know, it could have been like a it almost looks like a wholesale warehouse kind of a thing. But I don't know. It was built at a time presumably when something like this was allowed.
I have no knowledge of the historical use.
it's
Of
not
that
something you
property.
created, so that's, yeah, we're more curious.
But so for use, it doesn't have, I don't know, for public assembly, it doesn't have any windows, doesn't it?
You know,
I did want to make one comment. The building on 11 Lowell is detached from the restaurant at,
I was gonna ask that.
at 187. And I think down the road, they're gonna make some attachment to those buildings.
It won't take much.
It won't take, no, but I mean, that'll go, that will go before not before this board, that'll be for the.
I mean,
building.
I agree. I think the front lots facing Pocasset are absolutely fine commercial. I worry about the creep onto that residential street. That's very, I mean, it is residential and the car detailing use. I don't love, I don't like that, you notice that dumpster as soon as it was shown, and we've seen other examples of places that service automobiles parking on city sidewalks. We just ran into that a couple months ago on another application. And that's not something I like to see on a residential street. So I do wonder how we can
So if we did not
alleviate
approve
this.
the change, what use could that building have?
We're not gonna approve anything. We're gonna recommend to the city council.
What use could that building have if it remained in R3?
It could be, so it could be residential, or it could be what we call a neighborhood commercial establishment, which, frankly, a fair number of different types of, commercial uses would be allowed. It could be an office, it could be retail, it could be a restaurant, even under the R3, but it's not.
I mean, it's.
But although if it was by variance, then that's not, then that wouldn't apply. I don't know. I mean,
It's been like this for long enough where.
Yeah.
The residents there know it's a commercial building and it's not like we're approving something that has never been there before, so.
And I do want to comment, the building across the street from, on Lowell Ave at the corner there, lot 292, I believe is a church. That's not a residential use either.
That's on facing Pocasset Ave.
Yeah, the one, exactly, that lot
Yes.
there. at the corner.
Yeah, I would say I have no issues, no qualms, no question about lot 23, 24, 32. Anything along Pocasset Avenue. I worry about the creep into the residential area with 22, 11 Lowell. But again, this is not a situation that we're creating. This is something that's been there for an extended period of time. I don't hate the idea of you merging all these lots together so they stay and are not able to be sold separately for separate uses, that they kind of stay together.
Yeah, that was gonna be my question is, I mean, at least because those two existing buildings are basically touching. And,
Yeah.
you know, they're obviously not, but
It makes a lot of sense to
it
merge
feels
these
like it
lots.
should be one lot, one corner lot that's larger and allowed to be C2.
Yeah, I'm totally amenable to that.
Yeah. That would also.
Yeah, it would fix your parking issues. It would. Cause there's no parking with 22. You can't park on
If
the
that's a
sidewalk.
condition of the grant or the approval or the recommendation that there be no parking on that little apron
Yeah.
outside of that garage door.
I think I'd be comfortable giving a positive recommendation to the city council with the caveat that these lots be merged before final approval.
Now, when you say merge, you mean merge as one homogeneous lot?
Correct.
Whole thing? Okay.
Correct. All 4 lots as one. So you need to do an administrative subdivision as well. Which, would that be administrative?
yes,
That wouldn't be a hearing or anything, right?
correct.
Yeah, so you could do that all administratively under the new zoning laws. You wouldn't have to come before us again.
Okay. Thank you.
Any other questions of the applicant?
Question on lot number 32, what is that parking used for now? Because Juliana's is usually only 23, right? Or are they using 32 as well?
Well, 23 at the corner of Pocasset
Yes.
Lowell has always been used by parking.
Correct.
Parking. And likewise, 32 has as well, but 32 was an R3 zone.
Mhm.
So that's why we're here.
They're all R3?
No,
Yeah,
I'm
they're
asking-
all
They're all R3 zones.
Yeah,
All
all
3, all 4 of those parcels are R3 zones.
Who uses
Okay,
the
yeah.
parking on lot 30?
Yeah, who's using it? Is anyone using that now? 32?
You know, what happens is people who go to the restaurant and to eat there, if this lot here is full on the corner, they'll park on the backside.
So they're
Oh,
both
yeah,
being
okay.
used by the
By the
restaurant.
restaurant.
Yeah, and it's been used like parking like that for the Young Ponese Social Club for many, many years.
Okay.
In an illegal sort, but I mean, consistent, it's almost, I wouldn't say grandfather, but it's a historical fact.
Yeah, right.
That's
For
a good
many,
one.
many years, I canvassed the neighborhood, nobody ever remembers any structure being there. Peter Mariucci, who's on the board there, who's maybe well known to you, he's been involved in a lot of real estate in the city. He said, no, that's been there for 40 years, 50 years as an asphalted lot.
All right, any other questions of the applicant? This is a public hearing, so we have to open up the public comment and then we can. Let's hear the staff report before we do that.
Thanks, Mr. Chair. So as you can see, this area is currently zone R3, but it is directly adjacent to the C1 zone. And if you go down the street, you will see a number of commercial as well as mixed uses on that street. And the comprehensive plan intends this area for neighborhood commercial mixed-use development, which would be in proximity to medium-density residential development. And we feel that this rezoning would reflect the intent of the comprehensive plan, especially given the historic uses on the site. So based on that, we do feel that it would be appropriate for you to make a positive recommendation to the city council. However, as pointed out, the applicant intends to use 2 of the lots for parking. And principal use parking lots are not permitted except by special use permit in the C2 zone. So we would recommend that you make a positive recommendation to the city council with the condition that the applicant merge all 4 lots, which would also allow for the parking use to be accessory to the existing buildings.
Thank you, Joanna. Thank you for incorporating that on the fly. All right, so this is a public hearing. If there's anyone from the public who wishes to speak on this matter, please step forward, or this is a virtual hearing as well. If you're joining us in the virtual world, please raise your virtual hand in the bottom middle portion of your screen, or press *9 if you are calling in.
And,
I think that's.
yeah, okay.
That's it.
Okay.
Seeing no one going once, going twice, and we are closing the public comment portion of this agenda item. All right, commissioners. Deliberations and decisions time. I'm totally fine supporting this as long as they merge the lots. I think that takes care of a lot of issues that I have.
Yeah, I'm in full agreement of, merging all 4 lots. I think that makes the most sense.
Agreed.
Okay. So someone could make a motion as such, or so moved.
I'll make a motion that we recommend approving the zoning change subject to the merging of all 4 of these lots in question.
Okay, we have a motion. Do we have a second?
Second.
All right, we'll go around with a voice vote. Noel?
Aye.
Will?
Aye.
Dave?
Aye.
Charlotte?
Aye.
Miguel?
Aye.
And I vote aye. Best of luck at city council.
Thank you so much.
Moving right along to the next agenda item, we have a whole bunch of city council referrals this evening. So the next one is agenda item number 4. It's referral number 3566-171 through 175 Admiral Street.
Okay, so just before Choyan gets into this, the next 4 items are zoning changes, and they're all for the purposes of building new buildings for housing. This first one, Admiral Street, is to build a housing type that you've seen previously. It's a 8-unit building that would not qualify as a land development project. The 3 after that are all for land development projects. And under the new rules, these minor land development projects do not get reviewed by the City Plan Commission. So, but in every case, when there is a zoning change request, we always want to know what they're doing. So we've asked the applicants to describe what they're doing. And in the case of items 5, 6, and 7, there are detailed plans that have been submitted for review by the staff as land development projects. So I just wanted to kind of set the stage for that. But with that, Choyan, I think you can jump in.
Thanks. And commissioners, this is a request to rezone the subject vacant lot from R3 to R4. And as described, the applicant is proposing to construct an 8-unit building on the subject lot, and it's one that you've seen before. It's a design that you have seen before. So I guess the applicant's here and they can just tell us about the development and the reason behind the zone change.
Yes. Hello again, everyone. The applicant is in the room if you have any specific questions to him. In the meantime, I will be speaking on behalf of the applicant. Again, my name is Julissa. Nice to see you all. So the subject lot for 171 Admiral Street for the zone change to go from R3 to R4. It is a 5,000 square foot lot, and it's currently it's a vacant lot as stated by Troyan and Bob. And as you can see it right there on the screen, it is a corner lot on Admiral and Suffolk. And so essentially the plan is to build and construct the same exact proposed plans as you've seen for 693 Douglas Ave. It's also the same exact plans that you've seen back in November. So that's more recently to refresh our memories for the Federal Hill projects. As you recall, that petition had was from the same applicant, and it was 6 different properties. And so this plan is to construct, as previously stated, a 3-story dwelling with 8 units, compliant completely with the zoning code, seeking no relief. In fact, it doesn't even qualify as a minor land development, so it'll go straight to the building permit process. And the proposed structure of the dwelling would be this missing middle housing structure. And this complies tremendously with the current comp plan, as this structure for housing, it provides more housing and more housing choices in a sustainable and walkable city, which is exactly where Providence is heading towards and where we want to be. And with this, as you can see with the staff report, it provides a screenshot of what that layout would also look like. Now, just to clarify, for Douglas Ave, that was for 2 lots. And so part of that screenshot, I just want to clarify that this is 1 lot. So it'll be only one structure. And again, so the purpose behind this strategy is so that by having a developer create this repeatable plan, we're able to directly target the housing crisis and quickly turn out successful housing and structures so that we can go ahead and get those habitable. And so, and this is the best neighborhood also to have this type of housing. As you can see, in R4, there are multiple multi-families in the immediate vicinity of this property on Suffolk Street and Admiral, and it also abuts a restaurant and a plumbing company as well. And with this, you can tell that Providence is hungry for housing, is hungry for new development, and there's no better way than to build this specific structure right here on this lot. So again, with the compliance with the future land use map as stated in the recommendation, the character of the neighborhood, and with the comp plan, we just ask for you to give a positive recommendation to the ordinance committee for this property.
Commissioners, any questions for the applicant?
No. What's the makeup of the building? Is it 1 unit apartments? Is it 2 unit apartments,
Yeah.
studios?
So I believe it would be, this is 8 units. It would be 1 bedroom, I believe, and I can ask the client before I speak anything further. I'm not saying anything correctly. He's coming.
Before you say anything, just identify yourself too, just for the record.
Hello, everyone. My name is Luis Vicioso, owner of the property. So on this unit, the 8-unit building, we have 3 1-bedroom and 5 2-bedroom apartments.
Thank you. And this is basically the same that you presented, was it a month or 2 ago?
Yeah, it's the same. The reason why I'm interested in keeping it the same is to manage the cost of the construction.
This is the design that has the building parking underneath.
Yeah.
It was all the one in the Federal Hill area that we looked at, those 6 different lots.
So each unit has a parking spot.
Yes, especially for this, property, since it's a corner lot, it's easier to allocate parking for those units. The R4 doesn't need parking, does it?
Yeah, on a lot of under 10,000 square feet, no parking is required. But you'll certainly you can have some parking. But you'll be restricted with the pervious versus impervious surfaces and setbacks and so forth. So do you know how many spaces you'll be able to get on this site?
I feel comfortable to manage, to produce the 8 parkings.
Is some of this under the building?
No, it's like, since we
Okay.
don't need to, allocate a driveway, since it's a corner lot, the cars could actually go right into the back of the property and park. And on top of that, we've got a public transportation right in front of the property as well.
Yeah.
And you're gonna meet you're not gonna need any zoning relief whatsoever. You're gonna meet all
No.
requirements, 45 building height, right?
Yeah. 45 feet. And this building, will be, it will still be reviewed by staff, but it'll be under what's called development plan review. It'll be administrative development plan review. So we'll be checking all of that.
Make sure the
Compliance.
calculations
Yeah.
are correct. Okay. Any other questions of the applicant? All right, let's hear the staff report.
Sure, thanks, Mr. Chair. And so this is a request to rezone from R3 to R4. And this area is designated as one for medium density residential by the future land use map of the comprehensive plan, which also includes multifamily dwellings, like the one proposed by the applicant. And if you take a look at this area up and down the street, you will see that there are multifamily dwellings, some with a similar mass as the proposed building. And so therefore, it would be consistent with the comprehensive plan to rezone this area to R4, and we don't foresee a negative impact on neighborhood character and conformance with section 101 of the ordinance. So based on that, we would recommend that you make a positive recommendation to the city council to approve the zone change to R4.
All right, this is a public hearing. At this point, we will open the public comment portion of this agenda item. If there's anyone here in the audience who wishes to speak on this matter, please raise your hand or come forward. If you're joining us virtually this evening, please raise your virtual hand or press *9. And seeing none, we will close the public comment portion of this agenda item. I think this one's pretty cut and dry. This is why we pushed for the R4 zoning. It keeps the requirements we need to see, the impervious, things like that, the setbacks, the building height, but allows more density, unlike a commercial zone, which is what we used to do with commercial with a footnote. So I think this makes a lot of sense.
Can you remind me, the height in R4 allows for
45 feet or 4 stories?
Just 45 feet.
Doesn't matter how
Yeah,
many.
so the standard, one of the differences between R3 and R4 is, they both allow for 45 feet of height, but R3 is limited to 3 stories. And we don't count, an attic as where I think there's something about, heights and square footage, but for the most part, you wouldn't count like an attic as a story in zoning. But bottom line is you're allowed to get 4 stories within 45 feet in the R4 zone.
Yeah, I'll make a move that we, recommend to the city council, that what we're doing, recommending to the city council the change of zoning.
Approval of the proposed zone change. Perfect. Do we have a second?
Second.
Wonderful. We'll go around, individual votes. Noel?
Aye.
Will?
Aye.
Dave?
Aye.
Charlotte?
Aye.
Miguel?
Aye.
And I vote aye. Best of luck at city council.
Thank you.
Okay, so we have three more city council referrals. We believe that they're all for the same applicant.
Yes. Well, in theory, they are for different LLCs. However, they're for Dustin.
Right, they're all controlled by the same
Yes, but yep.
person. Would you like to go through them individually and have each one heard individually, or would you like to lump them together and go through all of them at the same time?
If that's amenable to the board, then I can definitely just chunk them all together if you'd like.
I'm okay with that. And they're all basically, they're similar ideas, so
Correct.
let's go through, all right, so let's open up the next three agenda items, 5, 6, and 7, referral number 3567, 125 Tobey Street, referral number 3568, 20 America Street, and referral number 3569, 64 America Street.
And I do want to just highlight that Kevin, the architect, should be joining us on Zoom.
Yeah, we
So-
saw him in the waiting room.
Yep. I'll give a brief introduction while we're bringing him in.
Thank you.
So these projects are all requests for rezoning to R4, and they're all, the rezoning would facilitate minor land development projects for each of these. And what is being proposed would be multifamily residential buildings for each of these. And they're all, you know, they're not all the same building, but they're all multifamily structures. And, you know, once again, as we've been discussing, the difference between the R4 zone and the R3 zone, they're all currently zoned R3. The difference being the height stays the same, but there can be an extra story. There's no limit to the number of dwelling units that you can have on the parcel. Also, in each of these cases, these lots are under 10,000 square feet, so there's no parking requirement, although I believe there is going to be parking, some parking proposed for each of these. They are subject still to setback, impervious versus pervious surface and lot coverage. So let me see, thought I tried to promote Kevin to a panelist. Nope, there we go.
125 Tobey looks like a familiar lot we've looked at before.
So 125 Tobey has been kind of on your docket for a long time. It kind of went away and it came back. I think what we had been saying all along for all of these requests is that we need to have submitted land development projects before they can be considered by the CPC. And so we have those now.
Great. Oh, there you are. Good evening, Kevin.
Good evening. How are you all?
Good.
Excellent. Thank you so much for your time this evening.
Thank you.
Why don't you go ahead and explain the three projects just briefly, and then we'll see if the commissioners have any questions for you.
Absolutely. Is there one I should start with? I know we're kind of lumping them together here. I can
Yeah,
start.
let's go in order. 125 Tobey, then 20 America, and then 64 America.
Excellent. Okay. So I'll start with 125 Tobey, and if it's okay with you all, I'm going to share my screen.
Sure.
Okay.
You don't have to go really in depth. These are just, high level overview. This isn't a land development project we're going to be reviewing.
Absolutely. Yeah. So I'll keep it 30,000 foot perspective.
Thank you.
We're really excited about all three of these. So I'll try to keep in mind to keep the information brief and high level. So These are all three of them are really exciting urban infill projects, residential projects, not mixed use, strictly residential. So essentially 125 Tobey, the overarching goal was to keep this sort of a low building. There is an existing building on the lot already, kind of a cute small scale mansard residence. And the idea was to sort of complement that notion of, just a simple massing with a stepped back top story similar to the mansard architecture. What we're proposing here is a total of 14 units. The sort of the DNA of this project is it's intended to be a workforce housing, which we think is really cohesive with what that neighborhood needs. We're trying to essentially the overarching goal of the project is to offer housing options for folks who work in the neighborhood to be able to continue to live in the neighborhood. So that's basically what this is. It's really not a very large project, just 14 units, 3 stories with a sort of an elevated cellar. Because to make the project work, we needed to elevate the unit count, but we did not want the building to be really tall or to look massive. So really a small scale urban infill project. And then in terms of the styling, really just something that feels cohesive with the neighborhood, but also of its time. So I'll move on to the site plan. Again, you can see the existing home to the north, plan north on site, and then plan south where my mouse is, if you can see that, is the proposed structure. Roughly 2,500 square foot footprint, pretty compact. A couple parking spaces in the rear, not required for the R4, but we just wanted to be able to offer some parking. And then I think what makes the project unique as well is, we want to have, obviously workforce housing, but we wanted to introduce a unit mix that you don't usually really see in this market. Everything ranging from smaller studios and 1 bedrooms up to a 3 bedroom unit on the ground level to really attract families who want to be able to live in this neighborhood. We have our cellar calculations with relative to average grade here, and then elevations of all 4 sides of the building, and then completed with sort of some 3D renderings of how the building fits in on site. So again, I can go into as much detail as y'all would like, but in the interest of at high level,
that's even more than I was expecting at 30
okay.
minutes.
All right, the next ones I'll keep it to a minimum on the next ones then.
Any questions on 125 Tobey before we move on to 20 America? All right. Take it away, Kevin.
Okay, 20 America. Yeah, we had a lot of fun with these. Let me go to the next one here. Hang on. Okay, 20 America, similar to 125 Tobey. They're all quite similar. This one is similar. Again, elevated cellar to try to bolster the unit count. This one, because it doesn't share a lot with an existing smaller home, we have 3 stories plus a cellar. So that kind of or I guess just the massing feels a little bit taller than the Tobey, the Tobey property, I should say. I think this one is there's not a ton of surrounding context in terms of architecture that would sort of force the hand of the design of the structure. It's very close to Atwell's, which is another reason why we think this would be a really great candidate for the R4, currently a parking lot. We see this to be a really wonderful development opportunity. Again, the site plan, no parking proposed on this
Let me
site.
interrupt you with a question real quick. You said 3 stories in a cellar. It looks like there's 4 stories in a cellar. Is that
Sorry,
correct?
my apologies. 4 stories with the cellar.
That's what I thought. Okay.
Yeah. Yep.
Which looks appropriate in this area.
Yeah,
Okay.
exactly. I'm getting them all mixed up in my head. Yeah, 4 stories plus a cellar, which is what makes it different than Tobey.
Right.
Different development approach, different context. So again, the site plan quite different. We imagine this being much more of an urban site. It's closer to Atwell's. It's got more of an urban sort of context, more of an urban vibe to it in terms of the design even. Staircase in the rear, a secondary staircase in the rear that would be covered but unenclosed. And then the other staircase is inside. So we have all of the site plan information here. Again, I can go into more information if you'd like. And then in terms of the floor plans, really simple building, common staircase, stair hall in the front, and then a secondary staircase in the back. Cross section of the building showing average grade relative to the cellar being proposed. Elevations of all four sides. And then that kind of wraps up 20 America. In terms of the design, we're kind of going for sort of a contemporary brownstone sort of feeling building here. I can move on to the next one if you'd like.
Yeah, what was the unit mix again on this one?
The unit mix on this one is, I've got the
Three
unit.
studios, 21 bedrooms,
You
and
got it.
1 2-bedroom. Okay, perfect.
Yep, exactly. And that
Any
there it is.
questions on 20 America, commissioners? All right, let's go to 64 America.
Okay, we're cruising now. I like this. 64 America, a little bit different in its styling. Again, trying to respond to what's going on in the neighborhoods for all three of these projects here. The goal here is to create something that kind of is cohesive with the, you know, the buildings in this neighborhood. You have things that are, you know, you got just different sort of like triple deckers and things with bay windows and that kind of style. So that's what we were trying to pick up on. This is a 4-story building, no elevated cellar. We wanted the top story to read like an attic story with dormers, just to kind of help the scale seem approachable. That's kind of what we have in mind on the cover sheet here. The unit mix here again is 26 units total, 16 studios, eight 1-bedrooms and 2 2-bedrooms. That's sort of the overall unit mix. Here's the site plan. This also shares a parcel with an existing structure. The notion is to have shared parking in the top right corner as shown. Similar to the last project, a secondary staircase that's covered but unenclosed off the rear to again try to keep most of the building compressed. And then here's our parking plan. And then our floor plates. So we have first floor, second and third, and then the 4th floor plate in the top right corner here. And then moving on, we have our elevations. Again, really trying to make the top story feel a little bit different than the other 3 to help with the scale and massing of the building, which we think presents well. So we have all 4 elevations, and that's it. And then a couple of perspectives from the outside.
Great. Just a couple questions overall. Tobey Street, I believe, is in a historic district. Is America Street also in a historic district?
I don't believe so.
No, none of these are.
Tobey
historic
Street's not
districts.
either. It's across the street.
Yeah.
It's not.
Okay. And then, you know, I've noticed your studios, that they're all around 200 square feet. That's we're not here for your land development project, but seems a little small.
So we've designed many things like at that scale. And honestly, we've had great success with them. I think that really, you know, I can comment on both the architecture and then also on how we think this would be used, if that's helpful. In terms of architecture,
you've thought it through, you've laid it out.
We've thought it through, we lay it out, and honestly, you know, I have renderings of other similar products. It's all about how you zone the space. A lot of times you really achieve success here with really delivering this fully thought out. You can't just hand over to a tenant the shell of this unit and say, here, go ahead and furnish it. You really have to.
You need like a Murphy bed and a galley
kitchen. You've got to think through the millwork. You've got to think through the furniture, and we have. And it's really important. So,
all right. They sound kind of like the microlofts down at the arcade.
Yeah, and they're really cool if you think them through. I think again, if you don't think them through, they can be they're not as successful, but we're a full design build studio. We're gonna think through every tectonic detail, all the millwork, all the function, and how the whole thing gets delivered. And it could be quite cool if you take it all the way through, which we intend to do.
And that's good. All right. Questions of the applicant from the commissioners?
On this one, we sort of passed the site plan, but looks very close to the other structure, and the lot line on that side is, or is that not a lot? I guess that's not, the 2 structures are on the same lot. Is that?
Yeah.
Yeah, that's a dimension string.
So they're meeting the 6-foot side yard setback. That would be at the bottom.
Yeah.
That red zone there, I think indicates where they're gonna be hanging some mechanical equipment off of the wall. Can you say, Kevin, the distance between the two buildings that they're closest? And how does that, how do you deal with the building code with a situation like that?
It's really a building issue, I guess.
Yeah, absolutely. No, that's a great question. So what there's a couple of things that come up from a code perspective, excuse me. Some of it are like the two issues I'll be contending with is allowable glazing based off distance from an adjacent structure. And it's calculated on a per story basis, which we've thought about. And then you would essentially look at it in segments. So the segment where this building here at the plan north, I should say, is closest there, where the bay window of that building gets close to the proposed building, there would be less glazing in that particular area. And then as it opens back up, you would look at that segment of that story and then calculate the allowable glazing there as well. So as we develop the elevations further from what we have now, we do have elevations to show, but as we develop them even more after this hurdle, we're gonna basically look at every single zone of every single story's elevation and articulate where the glazing would be based on what's allowed for IBC. And then the other component is projections that are allowed, such as cornices and eaves and things like that. So we're going to study all of those things as well. We did a very similar thing in the West Broadway neighborhood not too long ago.
You get to review all of that.
Yes, we'll review all of that as well as the building official.
You don't have any encroachments on public ways in this building, do you?
There will be, let me see here. There will be an encroachment at the second and third story with a bay window, and then a cornice above that. But it would be where we wouldn't be asking for any relief. It'd be everything just by right.
Correct.
Okay.
R4.
I hope that answers the question.
An R4 allows two principal buildings on
It does, yeah, it allows, that's another one of the differences between R3 and R4 is you can have more than one principal use building on a lot.
Does it change the pervious surface?
No, you're still required to meet the same pervious versus impervious, the same lot coverage. All that parking will count as impervious surface. They can do walkways with pervious pavers, but once you start parking on it, it's considered impervious. So they do have a table there, and we'll have to verify all those numbers, but it looks like they, based on what they've submitted, they comply.
That was one of the reasons we were so excited about this R4 instead of doing C1s with footnotes for, residential use only.
Right.
Because it was the only way we used to be able to do, multiple buildings or more than 3 units in an R3 zone. You need to do a C zone. This was pretty key because you keep the feel of a residential district with a lot of the residential requirements. And it's still residential zone instead of a commercial zone with a footnote.
And does R4 prevent short-term housing? Isn't that a C, like Airbnb and all that?
There's a different law about that.
So short-term rentals are not prohibited in the R4 zone.
They're not.
That's right.
Are they prohibited in R3?
They are in R3 and R2 and R1, they're restricted to owner occupied properties.
Yes.
But that's a fair point.
Yeah, just the idea of potentially a hotel functioning, out of these properties.
Yeah, it couldn't by definition be a hotel, but it
No,
could
not
act
by
like
definition,
short-term
by-
rentals
By functionality.
for a certain portion of the units, yes. Interesting.
Is Kevin, do you have the intention of using any of these buildings for short-term rentals?
No, certainly not at this time. I mean, obviously, yeah, definitely not part of the plans. They're meant to be long-term rented apartments. And in the case of Tobey, for workforce housing, specifically at Tobey.
If commissioners, if you don't want there to be short-term rentals on these properties, you could recommend that as a condition. That could be a condition of the rezoning. Maybe not a bad one,
I think it's
because we're
good
supposed to
point.
be producing housing for, permanent residents.
Not creating more Airbnb units.
Yeah.
That's not the goal.
Yeah.
So I actually thank you, Will. I think that's a good recommendation, that we should put to each one of these if we move forward, a recommendation of the city council to approve. Any other questions of the applicant?
You know, conform to the 40-foot, 45-foot height.
They all do, correct.
They will, or they'll have to come to us.
All three are designed to.
Right, yep, so the proposed plans for the zone change is to be completely compliant with the zoning code and to be able to have these proposed plans be viewed administratively as submitted earlier today, actually. So in terms of the zone change itself, the proposed plans do in fact comply with the comprehensive plan, and it also does conform, as Kevin mentioned, with the character of the neighborhood, with similar massings and scales as well. And so we do ask for you to give a positive recommendation to the ordinance committee.
How do we want to handle the staff reports for these?
I think I can
Summarize them?
finesse this, yeah. So we essentially are saying the same thing in our staff report for these, which is that these properties are all located in an area that the comprehensive plan calls medium density residential. And it says that, it says in the comprehensive plan that these areas are characterized by 1, 2, 3, and multifamily buildings. So that therefore allows you and the city council to rezone these properties to R4, which is the multifamily residential district. And we feel that given the situation with a lack of housing and the need for more housing, that these zoning changes are appropriate. They fulfill other strategies of the comprehensive plan related to housing. So we believe that these are all consistent with the comprehensive plan. And we feel that they are also consistent with the purposes of zoning as set forth in the zoning ordinance. So our recommendation for each of these is that you approve the proposed zone change. And we would add a caveat that the zoning change be restricted such that short-term rentals would not be permitted.
Okay. With that, this is a public hearing. If there is anyone here from the public who would like to speak on these agenda items, please raise your hand or come forward. If you're joining us virtually, please raise your virtual hand or press *9 if you're calling in. If you'd like to speak on any one of these 3 city council referrals. Seeing none, we will close the public comment portion of these agenda items. All right. Thank you, Will, for that tidbit. That was good food for thought.
That a lot, the Airbnb usage.
Yeah, and that's not the goal of creating more housing or creating more units for that. I mean, that we're using the rationale that this meets the comprehensive plan because we're creating more housing units that are needed. They should be housing units. All right. Now, how do we take a vote on this? Do we do them all together or individually?
I would do one at a time.
Okay. So let's start with agenda item number 5, referral 3567 125 Tobey Street. Anyone care to make a motion to recommend approval of the zone change with a prohibition of short-term housing.
Can I ask one additional question, which is short-term housing defined very clearly in our,
Believe it is, I believe short-term housing is defined in our,
Short-term rental is defined, yes.
Short-term rental.
Yes, it's for, I believe 28 days or less.
okay.
May I ask a question before we continue? So to what extent would the condition of not providing short-term housing affect the zone change itself? So with the zone change, it was for the particular parcel, and with the applicant agreeing to use the plan submitted for the proposed, for this lot, it would be for these long-term rentals, and it would not be for short term. Can that be sufficient to not require that condition for any future use of the lot as well?
it's whatever the city council decides. I'm comfortable recommending to the city council to make that a condition of the zone change and it be recorded with the zone change.
Alright, and so that means even if the current property owner were to sell the subsequent.
Exactly. That is exactly why we'd want it to be
It's
a part of the zone change and on land evidence records.
it actually, it ends up being a footnote on the zoning map itself.
Oh, okay.
So moved. All right, we have a motion. We have a second.
Second.
All right, we'll go around. Noel?
Aye.
Will?
Aye.
Dave?
Aye.
Charlotte?
Aye.
Miguel?
Aye.
And I vote aye. Next one is City Council referral number 3568 for 20 America Street. Does anyone have a recommendation to the City Council to approve with a prohibition of short-term rentals?
Motion to approve.
Okay, we have a second.
Second.
All right, we'll go around. Noel?
Aye.
Will?
Aye.
Dave?
Aye.
Charlotte?
Aye.
Miguel?
Aye.
And I vote aye. Final one, referral number 356964 America Street. Do we have a motion to approve again with a prohibition of short-term rentals?
I'll motion that one.
All right, we have a motion from Dave. We have a second. All right, go around. Noel,
Aye.
Will,
Aye.
Dave,
Aye.
Charlotte,
Aye.
Miguel,
Aye.
and I vote aye. Best of luck at City Council.
Thank you.
That is the final agenda item on this evening's agenda. I'd accept a motion to adjourn. And a second? All right, good evening. Thank you. Welcome to 2024.
It's not going past this.